Hi, this is Alicia, and welcome to Around the Hearth. And today I am talking with my good friend Mary Havlicek. And like me, she is a mother of three young children who is also trying to figure out how to honor her needs as a creator of, her art and her writing, while also honoring her role as a mother. And I think that this is something that a lot of us struggle with. And so I'm just interested in hearing Mary's experience and having her share it with us. So, my first question for you, Mary, is when did you first find out that you were going to be a mom?
When did I first find out? Um, I had been kind of sick for a couple weeks, and I had brushed it off as it was stress because we'd had it was like right after my birthday, and we'd had friends coming for the 4th of July. We had a wedding. My aunt got married, and then my great aunt passed away, and this was all within the span of like just a couple weeks. So I thought it was just stress and so much going on and things like that. And my mom kept, asking like, "Are you sure you're not pregnant?" I was like, "Oh dear God, no, I'm not ready for that. I don't even know if I want kids. I just, all that." So it was driving back from my great aunt's funeral. We had to drive, I think it was about 5 or 6 hours to the funeral, and we're driving back, and we were following my mom and dad, and we kept having to stop so I could pee. And my mom's like, "Seriously?" The next day we're talking on the phone, she's like, "Seriously, would you just go get a test for, I don't care." She's like, "I don't care about your peace of mind anymore, just do it for mine." I was like, "Fine." So I called my husband, and I was like, "On the way home from work, would you pick up a test?" And he's like, "Yeah, okay, sure." And I'm freaking out inside. He's just calm as can be, which just made me freak out even more. So I took it, and it immediately turned to pregnant. And I completely flipped my lid. Like, within the span of like 30 seconds, I went from, "Oh my God," to "Holy crap," to bawling, to "Okay, we might be okay." I mean, it was just like, this is probably horrible to say, but like being bipolar on steroids. It was just like insane. So it was a surprise. It was completely unplanned. I was actually on birth control at the time, so it was like, okay, sure. But
Wow.
I mean, obviously it turned out wonderfully. Um, but yeah, it was it was it was a crazy, crazy moment for me, and I look back on it now and I just crack up laughing. Um, but yeah, it was just kind of this building up thing for me that this there's just all these signs pointing to it that I just refused to see until it was right there in front of me, just basically slapping me. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's my story
Yeah, I can totally relate to that because I,
there.
for the longest time, just told myself that maybe I had come down with irritable bowel syndrome, and that was why my stomach was always upset. And I was taking all these tests, and apparently you should really read all the instructions when they tell you that like a faint line also is a positive. So I was like, but it's not. I can't really see it. It's not really there. So that could be true. And then my doctor was like, "Oh yeah, you're pregnant." I was like, "Oh, okay." All right. I was just hoping it was a stomach issue, but I guess I'll take it. I guess it really is a stomach issue, but um,
Were you on WebMD trying to find every diagnosis but pregnancy that you could find?
totally, totally. I was like, oh wow, there's so many things this could be. I was like, I don't have. Well, I wasn't nauseous or anything, and
I was,
so
yeah.
I just had an upset stomach. Like every single time I ate something, I was having an issue. I was like, okay, well, it just, I was like, either like it just hurt my stomach. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't nauseous or anything. So I was like, oh, I can't be like morning sickness. I have morning sickness. I've just got a digestive issue, and I drink Diet Coke like for 23 out of the 24 hours of the day. So I just assumed it was a combination of a poor diet and lack of sleep.
Yeah, lack of sleep. That was me too. I was like, I just need to get some
Yeah.
sleep. No, that wasn't working either. It's like, okay.
So when you did find out, or before you found out you were pregnant, did you even have a creative process already established, or were you, spending time regularly doodling or writing or painting?
um, I did not. I it's really like this combination in my head. Like I thought I was done with school,
Mm-hmm.
so it wasn't something I needed to do anymore in a
Mm-hmm.
way. And I was so, we had moved a few months before, and I was still getting used to this whole being married thing, and I was trying to find the right job, which that never worked. But I was trying to do all these things that I was quote unquote supposed to do, find the right job once you
Mm-hmm.
get married, all this stuff. So, it really was not something I ever thought about. Well, I did, but it was not on a serious, I'm going to do this kind of way. It was
Mm-hmm.
just like this thing that, oh yeah, it'd be nice if I could go back and do this, like I did when I was younger. It was like I thought, okay, now I'm an adult, and um, so I really didn't. I didn't have any part of that anymore. I did not, which sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I think it's interesting too how, like you said, like you're done with school, and so it's something that you kind of push aside, and you feel like
Mhm.
you don't need to have anymore, or you don't do. I was just too busy with work and hanging out with other people, even though I always journaled, but I never made it like a real part of my like everyday experience
Right.
on a regular basis.
It's like you're not being graded on it anymore, so you don't have to worry about it.
Right, exactly.
It's not part of homework, so it's not. It just I think in a way it just kind of goes back to how it was taught in school too. It's just
Mm-hmm.
something to be graded on. It's not, it was never really introduced as something that really should be a part of life, for at least most people in some aspect. So, I never gave it a second thought. It was just more like that. Well, yeah, if I was back in school, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's really more that. That's kind of sad.
It is sad. I
Really sad.
talking about school too. It reminds me of when I was a freshman, I think, in high school, and I was like, okay, I have to get into a really good college. So instead of taking art, because I took art all the way through middle school, as much as I possibly could, and then I stopped my freshman year of high school because I had to like get serious about college, and art classes weren't going to have the same weight as me taking an extra math class or an extra English class or something like that. So,
You
but
just,
because it's not highly valued, I don't
yeah,
think.
who can get a really good job, quote unquote again, with
Right.
art, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So then, after you had kids, even though you didn't have an established creative practice already, what do you think kind of compelled you to want to create again or start, dabbling in your creativity?
It was, I think, a combination of things. I started to become active in, well, once I had my daughter, I wanted to be home with her. And
Mm.
so, I started researching, um, like ways to work from home or have a business. And I started to see people that were really doing very creative things.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was kind of like a research thing, where I would see this and think, that'd be nice. And I think it was kind of, as the more I saw that, the more this something inside of me was just like, dude, I so wish I could do that. I just wish I could do that. And just the longer I kept seeing things, the more I kept seeing them, the more it was like, well, they can do it, then why can't I do it in some way, shape, or form?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and um, it just, I think that's really been it, is I needed to see it. And
Right.
I apparently needed to see it for quite a long time. Um, and I still need to see it. Just to know that yes, it's okay, and I do think it's okay now. I still don't know what the heck I'm gonna ultimately do because I have like so many interests and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, like I said, I think I just kind of need to be smacked in the head with a brick about it and say other people are doing it and they're doing just fine, and so can you. So that's, I think, yeah, exposure.
Exposure to it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I think that's kind of how I came into it too. I was spending after I decided to stay at home with my first kid, spending a lot of time just online, and then seeing other moms who were knitting or writing more or had their own businesses, and
Yep.
I was just like, wow, these women are doing all these incredible things, and this is something that I used to be interested in. I might as well try to do it too. I have all this time now.
Yeah.
So at home. So um so now that you are, trying to get back into exploring your creativity, how are you trying to incorporate it into your life now as a mom? And I mean, I have three kids too, so we are like super busy, and it's really difficult to find time to like kind of focus on these things. But how do you try to incorporate it into your daily life?
Um, you know, I'm still working on that.
Mm-hmm.
As far as, um, it's easier for me, you know, and that that time is easier for me. And it's not. I shouldn't say it like that because it's still not easy. Because at the end of the day, I just kind of want to sit back and let my brain rot with a TV show
Mm-hmm.
because it just having to deal with kids talking and fighting and all that other craziness. Just it's like my brain just needs a break. But that is the time that I need to be doing that kind of stuff. So I think it's discipline to do it at that time, and I think too something I've done with my kids is, when they're painting or they're drawing or they're coloring, I join in.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love to do that. Oh my gosh, I love coloring books and crayons. It just, like, I could get high off acrylic pans. I love the smell. That and Play-Doh are two of my favorite smells in the world. And so I'm right in there with them. I'm in there playing with the Play-Doh. I'm in there, making shapes and sculptures and stuff. I'm in there coloring the pictures and drawing things and helping them make paper airplanes and all this stuff. I'm in there with them. So um, I want to. I don't want them to grow up thinking that this stuff is just for kids to do,
Mm-hmm.
and that once they do get out of school, that all that stops, or once they're not in the primary grades, that this fun stuff has to stop. No, it can be done into adulthood, and it should be done into adulthood. Um, and so I want them to see me doing that and having a good time. So right now, I think that's how I'm incorporating it. Is I'm just I'm joining them in what they're doing, and I'm trying to get a little bit better about maybe writing during the day, having my
Mm-hmm.
journal around. Um, Most of the time, I forget. It's like taking pictures. I'm horrible at taking pictures.
Me
I am.
too.
I am
Me too.
so horrible. There's gonna be like years of my kids' lives missed out on because I don't. I'm so in the moment that I'm like, I don't even think to take a picture. And my mom, it just kills my mom because she's like, "Where's some pictures?" And I'm like, I haven't taken any." Uh, but um, but yeah, it's just kind of, I think, just being aware, being present, and um, just again, just kind of disciplining myself to just take that minute, 30 seconds, whatever, just jot something down. That's kind of a goal that I have, I suppose.
Yeah.
To do that.
I know what you mean. It's kind of like, I agree. I've been trying to figure out how to just join in when they're doing things and not use their art projects as a time for me to do other things, but as a time for me to also do something for myself. Because you're right, like, it's, even if it's just coloring with crayons or sketching on a piece of paper or painting, I find that time to be so enjoyable when I just decide to relax and let myself be in that moment and create with them, alongside of them. And then too, yeah, trying to understanding that sometimes the creativity has to come in short bursts, and you just write a little bit while you're making dinner, or when they go to take a nap, jot down a paragraph, and in between whatever you're doing, and just making sure that you have the tools available to do so.
Right.
It's such a hard thing to do. And I wonder though, I'm sure once they're in school, that we have they'll have all this time to kind of sit down and write, and they won't want to write anything, but just sit on the sofa and fold laundry while we watch Maury, because that's usually what I do during my 1 hour when Dean's in preschool.
Yeah, I don't know, and I've been thinking about homeschooling too.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's like I may not get that time. I mean, right now my daughter's in school, but yeah, it's like once if they all three do actually go to school and I don't homeschool, it's like I think it's gonna, at least for a while, be like, what the heck do I do with myself?
Yeah.
I don't even have a clue. I wouldn't know what to do. I just probably sit here just like, I don't know, decompress, for a few weeks. I don't know. That's hard to even think about, to even, have any clue about yet. But yeah.
Well, I appreciate your thoughts on that. And I can, like I said in the beginning, because we both have 3 small kids, I can totally relate to all of this. And I think it's just interesting that it seems to be that a lot of mothers or new moms seem to start finding their creative stride after they have kids. I think it's weird that we kind of all put it on hold until we become a mother. Yeah. And we have, even though we don't have a ton of free time, we have this time that's kind of different. It takes a different shape compared to, the traditional job where we're sitting in an office with a cubicle and, interacting with our coworkers. And it's just interesting to see the transformation that women and a lot of mothers go through after they have children, and this need to kind of reconnect with their creative sides. I just find it fascinating.
And I wonder too if we see it in our kids and we remember those times and how much we enjoyed them. But I know for me, at least too, it's that I really want to encourage and have them grow in that area. So I really encourage them to do that rather than sit in front of the TV, which, I'm no mom of the year. They do that too.
Yeah.
But, it's still something that I just regularly say, okay, why don't you just find a piece of paper, grab a couple crayons, and just go draw something, Yeah. There's no right, there's no wrong, just whatever, And it's just, like I said, it's just something that I want to encourage in them, and I want them to continue to do it, because I think it is extremely important to continue doing as they grow up.
Yeah, and I think it's even more so important that it's funny, you recognize the things that you kind of value for your children, how much really we probably need to value them for ourselves too. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, recognizing that we want to encourage them to explore their creativity is because we also should probably be exploring our creativity because there's so many benefits that come with it too. So,
But it's always easier to tell somebody else to do it
oh yeah,
than to do it. Like, yeah,
of course.
like, it's like when you're pointing at what is it, when you're pointing at someone else, there's three fingers pointing back at you. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah. Doesn't make it any easier, but yeah.
Awesome. Well, I thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on this, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me. And I'm so excited to be able to share this little bit with the rest of the readers and the listeners. And so, just one last question, one kind of fun question, because I love words and the meaning of words and how we use them. And so, what is your favorite word?
What is my favorite word? Okay, you warned me about this question, and I've had like a few run through my head. I love to say the word onomatopoeia. I really do. And the word, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but there's like you call it a song, but there's this kind of song kind of thing, and they say all these strange sounding words, and one of them is macadamia, and I always think of that. I'm such a nerd, but I love that, and I know there are other ones that I just can't think of. I like the word spunky.
Yeah.
I really like the word spunky. I think that is like a fun word. I think I might adopt that one.
I
But
like that.
there are so many that I love. And then there's the ones that we just make up around the house, and our latest one, again, Mom of the Year, or Dad of the Year. My husband for this one is butt cheese. That's the latest one in my house, and my 2-year-old loves to repeat it now at the dinner table. So there's just always, some kind of craziness going on. But yeah, I'm gonna go with spunky. That's kind of a fun one right now.
It is a fun one.
I like that.
I like it too. I like it. Alrighty, well, thank you again, and I look forward to talking with you sometime soon.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Bye bye.